Hey, what's up, yo? It's your boy DJ Fanatic Beats, content contributor for LiveOffBeats.com. Welcome to another video where I'm doing a dope breakdown of this really cool, chill hip-hop beat that just has those vibes, and it has some really nice chords, and it's just laid back, and it just came together so perfectly, and a lot of artists really like it. And I thought I'll take you behind the scenes to kind of show you what I did, and also hopefully give you some tips and tricks that you can use in your own beats. If you look at the screen right now, it's not much. It looks like not much, but you know, it's minimalist. Sometimes can be more, you know what I mean? So less is more in this case. And I'll show you what I did so you can kind of use it in your own beats and just make your music stand out more, and also just sound a lot more polished and a lot more professional. So if you'd like to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at DJ Fanatic or Sounds for Producers on Instagram. So anyway, let's jump into it. Let me show you. Basically, I'm gonna break down every sound, break down the sound selections obviously, and also mixing things that I chose to do in here, and also some plugins and cool stuff that I did. This beat, if you notice, is pretty much not much going on. It's only 9 sounds, surprisingly. And you know, I like to touch on that, and having less but using it in a certain way can sound like a lot more, and hopefully that translates in this video so you can receive that and use it in your own music. So the first sound that I started with was like a pad, so check it out. Let me isolate that. And I use Sample Tank 3, and a particular sound that I use, let me find it in here. It's under, well, anyway, it's called Positive, and I'm not sure where I found it. See, I like to challenge myself and use every plugin that I haven't used in a while, and I haven't used Sample Tank 3 in a while. I almost forgot I had it, unfortunately. There's a lot of stuff in there. You can get some cool things. So what I did, sound-wise, processing, I just used Fruity Parametric EQ2. I use that on all tracks just so I can clean up the sound and isolate the frequencies. I highly recommend that, so that way you can isolate the sounds and also kind of basically not have sounds and frequencies clashing all over the place. I hear it all the time in beats, and it's basically producers that don't know how to mix. They just throw a bunch of sounds and don't even know how to EQ stuff. So it's important to isolate sounds, especially things that don't need to transfer into other sounds. So with the pad, it had a layer of sounds. I'll hit play and you can visually see it here. And as you saw, actually I could have cut some more highs, but I wanted to breathe a little bit in this area. So the next thing I used was Fruity Reverb 2, just to give it like this airy sound. So this is without processing. And this is with plugins. It's subtle, but it's a lot more airy and a lot more space, and it's cleaner. So and chord wise, these are the chords that I created. It's very, I mean, if you don't know what key you're in, it's difficult to make the chords. You definitely want to trust your ear, and then you can plug in notes here and there, but usually there's different ways to make chords. There's triads, there's 7th chords, there's all kinds. What you can experiment with in FL Studio, and I'm sure it's in other DAWs, is the stamp tool. You can create major 7s, major, minor, 7th chords, whatever. And if you're in whatever scale, what scale is this? So it's probably E minor. So what's cool, you can go to helpers, go to scale highlighting, go to E, go back in. I wish that just stays open, but go back to scale highlighting, go to minor natural, and I think this is a minor scale. And notice the first chord, it's actually inverted. So this is some advanced stuff. I don't want to confuse you, But usually what you can do is mess around with any notes that are in the key. Notice the highlighted, like the light gray or light bluish area. These are actually notes that are in the key. And you just experiment, plug them in, especially if you don't know music theory, and just see what note feels good to you. And then you can invert them and move them around. But usually I don't want to get too far into music theory because it can get very confusing. But as long as you're following like the light shaded area, you're still in the scale. And we'll say 7 times out of 10, it'll sound good. But you don't want notes right next to each other. That's when you have a lot of clashing and just sounds crazy. So you want to skip at least one note and then you can experiment. So that's a really bad music theory description, but just, you know, play around with that. I didn't want to get too far into that in this video. Just kind of want to break down this beat. So that's the first sound that I chose. The second sound was a nice piano. And if you notice, I use the same chords. So this is what it sounds like. Let me change my snap to grid to bar. And this is what it sounds like with, it's the same chords but different instruments. Check it out. So with the piano, I believe I use Nexus for that. Yep. No, I use FL keys. So I just use FL keys, but you can get some good piano results with that. With that, I use the strum tool. Obviously, notice the notes are off the grid a little bit. And this is a little gem. Basically, it makes the notes off the grid, off timing. So it sounds like someone's strumming them as they play. So what you do is Control A, select all the notes, and Alt S, and it pulls up the strummizer. And what you can do is control the timing of it. I don't know why it's not moving, but you can control the timing of it and also the velocity. I don't know why that's doing that. Let's close that. Select all, Alt A, Alt S, excuse me. I guess it's confused. I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, you can control the timing. Basically, it moves it forward and back, and the velocity moves them up and down in volume. So let's close that and take that off. And with that sound, what did I do processing wise? I cleaned it up, EQ, and then I used reverb to give it space as well. And I used delay to have it kind of jumping around. Let's solo that sound. To give it like this vibe to it, just the chords already have this feeling, this heart to it, but I also wanted to add the delay to just give it this movement. And it's very subtle, so this is without any of those plugins. Yeah, they're really nice chords, so this is with them. See, a lot more theatrical, right? A lot bigger sounding. The next thing I added, I'm really happy with those two together. Just those two sounds together sound dope. And sound selection, you know, you gotta, once you got something going, make sure you're paying attention to what you're adding to it. I mean, I used to be a producer that just added all kinds of sounds that just didn't make sense to beats, and it was crazy. I did chaotic beats, man. It was just, that could be a producer name. You can take that if you want. But my beats were just so crazy. Like, I just had melodies. I just chose whatever sound I wanted, and I didn't really think about, okay, so what genre would this be? Okay, I wouldn't use a house lead unless I did it a certain way. So be mindful of your sound selection. So the next thing I used was a cool lead. So let me turn on the pad. So check it out. Very subtle. It's a soft lead and it's panned to the right. And the piano, I panned it left, and the pad I actually stereo separated, so it's in your left and right ear, very wide sounding. So those are the panning options and separation I chose. So for the lead, Here, I'll play it by itself so you can hear what I did. So nothing too crazy, but it's in the background and it's very soft and subtle. And notice there's pattern 4 and pattern 5. So pattern 5, I just raised it up an octave. Going up an octave or just in higher note in general brings more energy. Notice how it starts out and then it goes higher and you're just automatically feeling that. Remember that, that's a gem right there. It's like anytime you're going up in notation, like here, let me show you. Anytime you're going from this note to this note, if you go higher, feel that energy, you're going up in notation and your energy is driving. So basically pattern 4 and pattern 5 is up an octave, and I wanted to create that movement. It's making your beat feel like something's happening, but even though you probably, like an average listener, don't even know, but they're feeling it on a subconscious level. That's a real gem right there. It took me years to find that. So anyway, check it out. Higher. And for that sound, I chose just EQ, and I boxed it basically. I cut up to 258 hertz and cut down to 4360. So I wanted to isolate that particular frequency range. So the next thing I added, let's see, it's a cool pad that I have, and I think I use Arcade for that. Yeah, so check it out. I'm gonna solo it. Let me solo it. So basically it's an underlining pad underneath everything else. So it's a really small background sound, bars. So let's see, just did EQ. So, and I cut the highs on it to give it a little darkness. So I was pretty happy with just those 4 elements, and you notice I just start the drums. So the next thing was the kick. And with the kick, let's see what type of pattern I chose to do. Where is it? Let's do bar, boom. And next thing was the kick, so check it out. Jeez. That kick sounds menacing. So what I did with that, obviously I cut some highs and did some boosting at the low mids. Basically I was shaping the sound, and I used Sound Goodizer to give it a little compression. And with that particular kick, I didn't pitch anything, so that's the actual pitch. Sometimes I'll pitch kicks to make it match a little better with the scale or whatever key I'm in. So let's go on to the next sound. And that kick has like built-in reverb into it. So I didn't really have to do much. I just like how it sounded. It sounded big, large, and just dark and menacing. And it's contrasting to the other sounds. So here it is with the snare. My bad, here you go. Notice the snare is piercing. It's cutting right through that mix, and it's very sharp. And I did some EQ here, isolating certain frequencies, and then I use reverb just slightly. You can pause the video and look at these settings if you want, but every snare is different. So these are the type of settings I use for that particular snare. And then I added a cymbal on the downbeat, so to give it like the starting point. And I did something cool with the hi-hats. I had them playing different rhythms. So let me show you what I mean. Check it out. hi-hats, I actually cut the lows. That way you can see it, and basically they're like at the same frequency range pretty much. On the second hi-hat, I use reverb, so let's find out what that second hi-hat was. And this is the first hi-hat. And notice for the first hi-hat, I used 2 different pitches and different velocities. What's cool about that, you can Control A, select all, and Alt R is the randomizer. So what you can do is randomize panning and also randomize velocity. And that's a cool tool that is in here as well, and I use that. And always trust your ear. This is what I was listening to as I was making a beat. I didn't want hi-hat rolls. I wanted a pretty straightforward pattern, but make it unique as well. So, and I accomplished that. So with the hi-hats, obviously, I already showed you EQs. There's something else I wanted to show you. Oh yeah. What did I do? Notice the shift knob. It's a fine time shifting. So I shifted the first hi-hat way off the grid, so it's kind of lagging behind the beat. Of course, there's the swing knob here too as well, so that swings everything. But the hi-hats I like to play around with and take them way off the grid, so that way it gives the beat just some uniqueness. So also this is shifted as well, but not as much. So doing alternate things on different similar sounds definitely sets you apart from everyone, man. I'm telling you, you can come up with some crazy stuff and run with that. You know, that's crazy what you can do with that, and it's very powerful. And not only just on percussion and hi-hats, you can use it on anything, and it humanizes it. It makes it feel, you know, you ever wonder like not lo-fi, but just anyway, when your neck start snapping and you're like, yo, that beat is off, but I like it. That's what it is. It's called swing. So, and in time shift, not time shift, but what do they call it? Shift. It's basically a time shift, and you're shifting it off of where it would have been, and you're humanizing it. That's the essence of your ear, the essence of you as a producer. I can't stress that enough. So anyway, so yeah, that's all the elements, and I thought I put a bass in here, but it looks like I didn't. So this is actually rare for me. I chose not to do a bass. You notice there's no 808 or bass line, and I think I wanted the kick just to be the only bass in the beat. So that's all the sounds in a beat, and what I did with the mixing wise, didn't do much panning. I already went over that. And the other thing is mastering. What I use is Isotope products. I used to use FL Studio stuff, but I kind of just wanted something a little more advanced, and I just wanted to experiment with a lot of craziness. So you don't have to have this. Everyone masters beats differently. So I'll just briefly go over what I did. I use Track Assistant. What that does, while you're running the beat, it automatically sees what's going on audio wise, and it chooses what modules to put here. I usually go with what they're suggesting, but I try different things and also change parameters within each modules. This is what it sounds like without Neutron 2. And this is what it sounds like with. Big difference, right? So you got the equalizer. It decided to raise this up because of certain frequencies. The compressor evens everything out really nicely, and looks like this is a multi-band, but it only chose to use this bottom threshold, this bottom band. And then the exciter, you can do some cool stuff in here, so it chose those items. And Ozone 8 is pretty much the same, but different modules. And also, this is the mastering plugin I use. It decided to do this, the EQ on top of the Neutron 2, and then dynamic EQ, where it adjusts your dynamics based on what's happening. I use Imager. I always add that into a beat because you can isolate certain frequencies, like usually the stereo width of frequencies, and I usually narrow the bass so it's straight up and down. This is a vectoroscope, And you know, every beat's different, so I'm not trying to tell you do it like this, because you can always change different things, and according to taste, you know, you can come up with something totally unique. Of course, all these modules have presets in them, see, and you can use presets. I like vintage tape, man. It adds so much to it. So anyway, let me play it without it. This is bypass with gain match. Gain match is basically matching the gain without the plugin, so that way it doesn't sound quiet. So check it out. Notice how hollow it sounds, right? So this is with it. My God, big difference. And the last thing in my master chain is tonal balance control. I mentioned this in other videos, but I use this as well to kind of focus on what frequencies are in balance based on the algorithm that the target algorithm that I choose. So this is what it looks like. Basically, these white lines are in a certain field, so when you see these light up, you're pretty much in the ballpark of your target. You can change your target to these different presets, and you can also use your own songs to target. And if there's adjustments to be made, notice I have Ozone. What it's doing is showing the EQ that's connected to Ozone 8, and I can make adjustments here to match, to make sure they fit within these blue areas. And you can fine tune it. So that pretty much fits in there, and it looks pretty good, I thought. So anyway, and let me not bore you to death with everything, and just thought I'll cover that as well. Hopefully you're learning something. And notice, you know, I use the same chords and the sound selection, and also time shift, man. That hi-hat, the way it's off like that, sounds really dope. So let me start the beat from the beginning into the chorus area and some of the verse, so you get the vibe with it and just kind of fill out the beat. And again, thank you for watching. So check it out. Swing, man, that swing. Switching up elements here. Letting it breathe a little bit right here. Give it a break. Second part of the verse. Man, that beat is crazy, man. I like the vibes. It's just this elegant, majestic sounding. It's just chill, man. So yeah, and I'm shocked I didn't use a bass in this beat. And what I wanted to mention as well, notice the intro was super long, so that should have been like half the size. I don't know what I was doing when I made it. Maybe I was just vibing out and I was like, I don't care, let me make a long intro. But typically it's a lot shorter than that. And the format's a little different than a typical beat, so you know, sometimes I experiment with different formats like 8-bar, 12-bar, whatever, and you can experiment with stuff like that. Of course, you know, song structure, listen to your favorite songs and you can learn from them and make your beats just like that, especially when you're targeting a specific sound. That's a gem as well. When you're targeting a DaBaby beat or Lil Baby beat or Trippie Redd beat, or I don't know who else is hot, whatever, whoever beat you're targeting, listen to their stuff and you can kind of tell what they usually use as far as beat structure. So again, it's your boy DJ Fanatic Beats, content contributor for LiveOffBeats.com. Again, if you like to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at DJ Fanatic. That is spelled PHANATIC, or Sounds for Producers on Instagram. You can follow me there as well. So anyway, really appreciate y'all hanging out. Hopefully, you're amped, you learned something in this video, and take it and run with it. Keep expanding on your goals as a music producer, and yeah, just stay at it. Peace and love.